Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Pregame Network podcast. This is episode 110, and I am your host, Dan, joined as always by my bestest pal, Anthony. Say hi, Anthony.
Hello.
And here to talk about some video games and wrap up a bunch of stuff that we didn't get to last week from the Summer Game
Yes.
Fest, and talk about more Destiny woes. Um, but yeah, so might as well jump right into it. But before we do all the good stuff, we always talk about what we've been playing.
Yep.
So we will start off with that as usual. I'm gonna go first. Did I go first last week? I don't think it really
I don't think so.
matters.
Normally, I'll be honest. There are multiple weeks in a row where you just go, "I went last week." Anthony, you go first.
Really? Okay.
Yeah.
I believe you. Well, as far as I go, the staples have kind of been there as well. A lot of Helldivers 2 in the past week.
Yep.
A lot of Battlefield for me. For whatever reason, like the update that they made to Season 3, everything just feels a lot better. The game is running better overall. They've been adding attachments and weapons and maps and stuff. So it's been a good time. Yeah, I mean, I just kind of playing Battlefield for like the love of the game right now. I'm kind of,
Yeah.
I think I recently made the choice to get every weapon to at least level 50 because you get like the ruby badges or whatever per gun.
Oh
So
yeah.
that'll keep me occupied for a good long while. Um,
Yeah.
I so funnily enough, I started a playthrough of Call of Duty Infinite Warfare just because like I just wanted to go back into an older COD, specifically like an older Infinity Ward COD.
Uh-huh.
Um, I think the main driving force behind that was the Modern Warfare 4 announcement, which we will get into a
Makes
little bit
sense.
later.
Yeah.
But yeah, I started Infinite Warfare. I've only played through the game once when it first came out, and just haven't touched it since then. But as far as I can remember, there really was never like a objectively terrible Infinity Ward campaign. And if you're gonna cut me off at the pass and tell me Modern Warfare 3, that was actually Sledgehammer, so that doesn't count.
I know.
Um, Okay, I'm in my Anthony mode right now. I have to make sure all my fucking T's are crossed and I's are dotted before I
I wouldn't have
just
it any
shoot
other
my mouth
way.
off. So again, started Infinite Warfare. Only played like the first level before I had to get up and fucking do something. A little bit of Dark Tide just to get my feet wet again before the new class comes out next week. I played through the demo of Sprawl Zero. Have you heard anything about this game?
Outside of you mentioning it, I've heard nothing really.
So Sprawl, the first Sprawl game, it's only made by like a handful of developers, but
Mhm.
they seem to be like they wanted to channel the spirit of Titanfall, but through the lens of a boomer shooter.
Okay.
And the first game didn't really resonate with me. Like, so after I played the demo, I'm like, I'll go back and play the first game and see how I like it now because it's been on my Steam library forever, and so I did just that. I went back and played the first one. It's something about it doesn't really feel right, so I dropped it again.
Mhm.
But the Sprawl Zero demo, when I mentioned the Titanfall inspiration for Sprawl One, it's because they include like wall running and like the whole movement shooter type of thing. Sprawl Zero does not have wall running, so that's like already a pretty big departure from the original game, but everything else about it is honestly great. And it's only one level, or it's a part of one level for the demo. But the shooting in particular feels really good. And I know I'm speaking for myself. If if a developer gets down like a really solid shooting mechanic in a game, like I could forgive a lot just because
Mhm.
it's so much fun to play.
Of course.
Sprawl Zero, I'm not saying like everything around the shooting in Sprawl Zero is bad, not even in the slightest, but I'm just using that as like a bar right now. It feels really good to shoot guns in Sprawl Zero, and on top of that, it's still through the lens of like this boomer shooter. It's not as like visually visually bland as the first game, I'll say.
Okay.
Um, but they got rid of the wall running, but they added like this telekinesis ability, and every gun that you're using, you can't reload it. You can either throw it at an enemy and kill them, or like deal great, like really good damage. But if you run out of ammo, then you just have this empty gun in your hand, and you have to use your telekinesis to pick up another weapon off the floor, and they're like littered all over the place. But I find that mechanic in particular works really well for keeping the game's pace really high, because you're always looking for a different gun, and they could drop with like different rarities. They do more damage and have more ammo and whatnot. But anyway, point being, Sprawl Zero, in my opinion, was a lot better than it had any right to be coming off of the first Sprawl game. So the developers must have learned a lot, but I really, really enjoyed it. So I played through that. I downloaded and played the Stellar Blade demo.
Yeah, that's right.
After our conversation last week. And I got to tell you, Anthony, I was pleasantly surprised. It was a lot of fun. And I think once it goes on sale, for like a Steam sale, whenever that may be, probably like for the summer or something, I'm probably going to scoop it up because I really enjoyed it. It was a good time.
Yeah.
So the last thing that I'll say for what I've been playing this week is I've been playing a pretty decent amount of Destiny. And
which you will get to, because there's a lot of news and stuff.
Yeah, there's a lot of news to do with Destiny, but I've been playing like a solid amount, not nearly like as much as I once did, but after they dropped the June 9th update, like I owed it to myself as a Destiny fan to go back in and see what they did, and I have a lot to say about it, so I'll save it for the Destiny
the
block.
topic at hand.
Yeah. So that's what I've been playing this week. Anthony, what about you, friend pal?
It was another one of those weeks where I had moments where I'm just like, I don't know what to play. It's like, I have my rotation, obviously. I play the fighting games with Harrison. I dip my toe into some of the gacha games. But there's always a moment where it's just like, I want to sit down and just play a game, So I jumped all over the place. I played I tried Vampire Survivors. Didn't really do it for me.
Yeah, I agree.
It didn't really do it for me. I played a lot of old Xbox Live Arcade titles that I've just I've had since we all jumped on like 18 years ago. I dicked around in both Geometry Wars games. I played the original Pac-Man. I played Frogger. I played this old like rhythm puzzle game that's been updated plenty of times now with different sequels called Lumines Live. I don't know if you ever heard of it.
Lumines Live?
Lumines Live. The series is just Lumines. Okay, it's basically it's a puzzle game where like there's a great focus on music and rhythm. Like there's always there's a playlist going on in the background, and it determines like the skin or theme. But the main thing is it's just make squares basically. You want at least you drop squares and broken up into 4 pieces of one of 2 colors, and using that you gotta just match the colors, at least 4 of one color to make them go away. And the whole point is like as the music changes and as the rhythm changes, the amount of time it takes for like the board to sweep or like the pieces to drop changes up with the music. And it's a neat little game. And I was like, I think a new one got announced like 2 years ago, or it came out already. And so it's just that's just like a good way to kill time. I played a shmup called Trigger Hard Excelica, which is like a shoot 'em up.
Okay.
Like a bullet hell kind of thing, and I don't think I ever completed it. I might have. It's one of the first Xbox Live Arcade games I personally went out and purchased that wasn't just a port. So that was a little interesting. I tried Blinks the Time Sweeper, if you even remember that game. Oh my god,
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Whoa. That's from like the original Xbox, right?
Yeah, that was like their attempt at like making a mascot. It's like move over Mario, move over Sonic. It's so many companies tried to do that. I think that was Xbox's attempt.
That game was always very reminiscent of Ratchet and Clank to me.
That was the goal. They wanted their like take in that demographic, I guess. And it's not as bad as people make it out to be. Like some people say it's like the worst Xbox game ever made. I have no idea where that comes from. It's just it didn't hold my attention. I tried Hades. I don't know why. I hate myself for trying Hades again. I put it right back down. I remembered why I never finished it in the first place.
First or second one?
The first one.
Okay.
And then Dan, I said last week, I'm just like, I played Arkham Asylum and Arkham City. I'm probably, not going to get through it. I think the first week I said...
You probably blasted through all of Arkham Knight, didn't you?
Yes, I did. I went through all of Arkham Knight. I have one more thing to do until I can unlock the full Nightfall protocol, and then I can say like, yep, I sat through the Arkham games again. And I just got to say, man, great trilogy. There's really nothing else to say about that. there's only so much I can really say that doesn't retread new ground. It's like some of the greatest adaptations ever made for any medium coming over to video games. I know, I understand again why people think City is the best ever, but I just gotta say, Night, for all of the issues that it has that people have with it, that I agree with. Like, I think the pacing is kind of rough. I think the story is a little rough compared to the other two, but the way it feels and plays, like you could have milked that engine and that setting just with different stories in there.
Yeah, for game.
You could have milked
game.
that dry. I like, if you kept making games like, what? How old is Arkham Knight? Was it 2015 or 2016? Or is it older than that? I can't remember.
I want to say 2016, but I don't know off the top of my head. I'm gonna look it up right now.
Look that up. But it's like, if you use
2015.
2015. Okay, like if you were just making games, like you could just reworm different parts of Gotham, but on that same like branch of the engine. I think it's Unreal 3, with different characters and different stories. Make it an anthology thing. I would buy a game like that every 2 to 3 years. I would. It's just, it feels that good. It's that competent. It is like where games, I guess, last peaked in a lot of ways, just from like just the way it plays, the way it looks, and everything like that. I don't know. It's a phenomenal game. That entire series, ignoring Origins because I'm not as big a fan of Origins, it's like somewhere on my top 100. I know it's on there. Just that trilogy is there, and it's just it's a good time all around. And I'm almost tempted to go back and do like different playthroughs or 100% them or something like that, because it is just a ton of fun going back there. But I did go back and I beat Arkham Knight. But I mean, other than that, it's really, the stuff we've been playing, the stuff I play. So, Helldivers 2, Rivals, that kind of stuff, and that's the bulk of it, I would say, unless I'm forgetting something, which I doubt I am. I think that's the bulk of it. So, Dan, with what we've been playing out of the way, you can circle back, get to the Destiny stuff, your experiences with it, the news, and all that kind of stuff, and I can sit here and just nod along and put my input where it matters.
God. Okay. Oh man, where to even begin? A lot has come out in the past week with this whole Destiny ceasing development bullshit. Yeah. The one thing that to me seems abundantly clear, like undeniably clear at this point, just based off of this final update alone, is that the devs themselves, like the people in the trenches that were making the content day to day and shipping it and doing all that stuff, like they were actually listening to the community and they knew what we wanted overall, and they were planning on putting it all into the game. I don't want to like talk in circles about this, so I'll just sum this part up by saying it has become so much more apparent to me that the reason why Destiny failed at this point is basically boils down to just complete mismanagement. I know I said that last week and the week before that, but especially coming off of all the news that we've gotten since the announcement that they were ending development, it's definitely starts from the very tippy top. I mean, of course, Bungie doesn't they don't put out like perfect updates like this every single time. How could they? But this single update was probably the biggest update that wasn't a proper expansion, like full stop. It was fantastic. It was exactly what the Destiny community would have wanted, what they would have considered like a comeback if they didn't announce that they were ceasing development. And I'm not going to bore you with all the details because there's a lot of them. I think it was the largest blog post that they ever put out for the game itself, which is just fitting for the final fucking update. That being said, there is apparently a secret ending cutscene, which I actually haven't even gotten to yet because I'm really just taking my sweet time with the update itself because they put a lot of shit into it, and I really want to savor it and enjoy it. And I about like every other day or so, I check Steam DB just to see like how the game is doing because the community planned that server slam for the 9th, right? Like they wanted to get hundreds of thousands of players online. I think it peaked at 167 on Steam alone. Now, granted, that's always going to be smaller than console numbers especially for a game like this because it's on every major platform. but Steam are that's the only platform that we actually have like concrete numbers for. So on
Yeah.
Steam itself, it peaked at 167,000. And who knows on console, but I would suspect it was in the hundreds of thousands, but I've got no way of proving this. Actually, no, I
I
do.
obviously you can tell me what you're going to say, but I did a little number crunching myself, and I think
Yeah, because the API is open, like the community can
yeah,
actually see like the unique logins of
I
every player.
I think
Sorry,
my
go ahead.
takeaway or something was that like it was like 1/3 the all-time peak across all platforms. I think that was like the
Yeah, that sounds
numbers.
right.
I don't know what the exact number is, and obviously I'm not. You mentioned it's open. I haven't looked too much into it. I just remember just doing like a brief pass at the numbers, looking at the Steam charts, looking up some of the information that was open in public, and I think it's just like I think that number is like I don't know what the exact number is, but like a couple 100,000 somewhere. Like if you looked at the all-time peak ever, which might be a million and change, I think that the game itself is resting or peaked recently at like 1/3 the best peak the game ever had.
Okay, that sounds about right. Because like a giant portion of the community has just flat out moved on, which is
Yeah.
completely understandable. Now, of course, when I look at Steam DB, like I want to see how the game is doing and everything. Like at this very moment, at the time of recording, as I'm speaking, the game is sitting at number 7 for the most played games on Steam right now, and that's going to drop off like over the next few weeks because people are just going to naturally move to other things.
Yeah.
But again, just for context, and I can't help myself but to bring it up, Marathon at this very moment is sitting at 12,000 players in game on
Yeah.
a Sunday night at 8:30 p.m. Destiny is at what, 10 times that or think that sounds no whatever multiple times larger than the Marathon player base
Yeah.
right now. And I don't want to keep on harping on Marathon versus Destiny because we've just done it to death, but it I just have a lot of thoughts and emotions when it comes to Destiny. The part that stings the most to me, at least at this stage of the game, is the fact that all the people that I made friends with, that I still talk to a handful of them today, that
Yeah.
we were pretty hardcore into the game. They all moved on. Again, understandable, but like I would have loved to have had one last ride with the old team back, doing the new Raid Pantheon and everything, because it was my favorite thing to do in the game. And I'll continue to say this until I'm fucking dead, but there is nothing else quite like Destiny in the gaming market right now, and there's nothing even close. So, and then like people like to cry Warframe and the Division. They're different animals. I think we could both agree on that.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah. So
I'm pretty sure
the whole
that
thing.
we verbatim went over that at some point
Yeah,
when
yeah,
some Destiny
absolutely.
stuff went down.
Yeah. So now, like with like those raw thoughts out of the way, let me just go back to our Discord because there's a couple of tidbits that were shared after the June 9th update. The chief among them, in my opinion, was that apparently, allegedly, Bungie was extremely close to closing, like just before the Sony deal went through, and that is basically why they took the deal, because they were essentially insolvent and they needed an injection of cash to keep going. And this was like years ago at this point, which is not hard to believe, but at the same time, the source that was responsible for this
It's like a
information.
community manager or something,
Yep.
right?
Yep.
Yeah,
Who is-
you always got to be wary about the community managers.
Yeah, and like the word in like the comment section essentially for this one individual is definitely not a positive one.
Yeah.
Apparently she was she was so she was like how do I put this? She was like responsible adjacent for Christopher Barrett, who was the game director once upon a time, for getting ousted like due to like sexual harassment allegations. We still have no idea like what actually happened. We never will. But apparently like she was one of the people who, if the comments are to be believed, like cried wolf.
Yeah.
So like it's so murky, but I don't think we can really trust anybody at this point for
Pretty much.
Destiny.
Yeah,
um,
because it's going to be a bunch of disgruntled employees,
yeah,
who want to like save face with everything that happened now that the hammer has fallen, so to speak.
yeah.
It's just it's you can't. I think I said it when this whole started. It's like you can't take the most extreme examples out of this because everybody's going to be flying on emotions for a couple months.
Yeah. You know, to add to all of this, today actually, uh, Xbox put out a tweet of something to do with Destiny being shut down. I think it was something along the lines of like once a Guardian, always a Guardian,
Mm.
which I just find kind of ironic because you know, once upon a time, Microsoft owned Bungie, right? That
Hmm.
was like the golden goose for Microsoft. Obviously, if you don't know, Microsoft were the ones that created Halo. Marathon was before Halo, and then they had
Oh,
Oni. It was just Oni.
yeah, it was only
Yeah, so they
Oni's a
had a
lot of
couple
fun.
like I never played it before. They had a couple of really popular properties, and they came out with Halo, and like that's what really put them on the map. Um, so anyway, Microsoft and Xbox put out a tweet, you know, kind of like sort of commenting on the whole situation. I just find it ironic that after the announcement and then the community outrage, like Sony hasn't said a thing. Um,
Yeah.
so take that for what you will. The whole thing is very bittersweet because the update itself, the June 9th update, was fucking awesome.
Mhm.
They removed the piece of shit portal menu navigator thing and brought back the director, which everyone was crying for since they first put the portal in the game. So that was like a huge, massive change, but for the positive. The new incursion system that they got going on is basically like what you would see in like Diablo, where you have the hell tides. So like it just adds more replayability to the game world. After the June 9th update, Destiny has felt more alive to me just roaming around in public spaces than it has in basically 2 years since the final shade came out.
Yeah.
Um, and that really speaks volumes, in my opinion. Now, all this being said, do I think they could have kept on going with Destiny 2 and kept on adding to it and expanding and blah, blah, blah? I think to a point, yes, but only to a point. Like that game was running on a very old engine. It had cracks all over the place. It broke from like a technical standpoint with bugs and crashes and glitches and blah 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 like all the time. So I think they probably could have kept it afloat for a little bit, but they would have needed to essentially abandon the game to start a new project within the Destiny universe because as of right now, like yeah, Bungie has Marathon and Destiny technically speaking, but right now they only have Marathon and like it just if you looked at the two properties, what can make Bungie and by extension Sony the most money? It was never going to be Marathon. It was never going to be, and anyone who has half a brain cell in the gaming industry could tell you that. Why they decided to bank on Marathon and not Destiny, whether it's Destiny 2 or 3 or a different spin-off project or whatever, that's neither here nor there. The point is, Destiny was the one with the already established community and audience. The whole community overall would have been fine waiting X amount of years for a new game if they would have just confirmed the fact, yeah, we're ceasing development on Destiny 2 so that we can turn all of our focus onto this new project. Again, didn't exactly have to be a Destiny 3, but there were so many storylines and characters and plot points and everything. They could have done so much with it. And if they decide to do something in the future, and I'm curious what that could be, but it it's a fucking mess, man. It's a complete mess,
Yeah.
and the community itself is still extremely emotional about the whole thing.
Oh yeah.
Um, I I'm really trying to not be biased here, but at the same time, Destiny 2 as a game, as a product, as a community, as like a third space, that's the term that's been thrown around a lot lately.
Yeah.
It really did mean something to me. Like we even dragged you into it, Anthony. Like
I
you,
gave it like three separate
yeah,
distinct shots, I
yeah,
think.
which is perfectly respectable. But my favorite memory with you in Destiny was when we dragged you through Val the Disciple raid, and you just had like all blue gear, and it was, and we still beat the raid. So like
Yeah.
that was like one of my favorite favorite things that I've done in Destiny, and
There you go.
because there's nothing quite like raiding, and I've said it over
Yeah,
and over again, and I'll continue to say it.
I get you.
Like you not being a fan of the game itself, like not liking the way that it plays and how it feels, like nobody could fault you for that. It's not your cup of tea. That's fine. Like you're allowed to have your own taste and opinions and everything. It doesn't erase the fact that the game is sorely loved by like a tremendous amount of people, right?
Yeah.
And it's still. I think a lot of people are not going to forgive Sony and Bungie for doing this. At least not in the
Yeah.
way that they did it. Like they
Yeah.
could have at the very least had a lead up to the end and just done it a little bit more gracefully, not the way that they did it.
Well,
It was just, yeah, go ahead.
well, what I was gonna say is like a lead up to the end is like their intention was like their initial intention wasn't to shut down Destiny. Like if they could have had their cake and eat it too, they would have had it. You know, they both games would still be running at this moment. Like
Right,
if
but
it's
not Destiny.
No, good. What were you gonna say?
They could have had their cake and ate it too if Bungie as a company, as like a hierarchical entity, wasn't run the way that it was.
I agree.
And it, this has been said to
I'm
death.
just no, I get you. I'm getting to the effect, not the cause. Obviously, we both agree that at the root of it is it's a managerial issue. I'm just saying, like, you're looking for tact where like the unprecedented situation of them basically saying fuck it, we're gonna pull the cord, be it a month in advance or a year in advance, basically led to the fact that they didn't give you that like warning or heads up or anything like that.
Yeah, I mean, even if they started to wind down the story over the course of like 3 months or something, I feel like it would have gone over way better. But again, that's all conjecture. It's nothing to do with anything at this point. Anyway, moral of the story is that the whole situation really blows. The final update was actually essentially a masterstroke in like specifically Destiny development. It was everything that the community wanted. They added a ton of content as far as like in-game items and weapons and gear and stuff. The incursion system is a lot of fun. The game, they rebalance like the entire sandbox, so it feels a lot better now. The new exotic that they added, the final like season pass exotic, is actually fucking phenomenal, and I love it. The worst part about this whole thing, honestly, is the fact that I don't have anybody to enjoy it with one last time. That's what hurts me the most.
I get you.
Because I could live without Destiny, right? Like I hate the fact that it's basically done at this point. But there are other games out there. There are other games that I want to know life, that like I've said so many times before.
Oh, of course, yeah.
So like I could handle the fact that Destiny is pretty much done at this point. It's just the way that everything happened, and all the discord going on around all the events of what happened, with all these ex-developers coming out and saying what they've been saying and everything. Like it was just a shit show from the very beginning. So it sucks. But the new update is great, and I'm just gonna take my sweet time with it. I am in no rush. Do you remember like months ago at this point, I said that I don't have it in me anymore to like find a new team and like start raiding again and everything.
Yeah.
It's crossed my mind to try to find a new team.
Even when you said it, I said to myself, like, that doesn't make sense, because if you want to play a game, you play a game. My whole thing is, I think that, and I'm not saying you specifically, but I will generalize based on all the things I saw. I saw a lot of cope like, well, I don't, my team's moved on anyway, so it's like the game's dead anyway. I think it's like, if a game's good enough, you can find a way to play it. I just don't think they were offering you, what you wanted.
No, I have no disagreement there whatsoever. The content drought that we were going through from the beginning of Edge of Fate up until now, like, wasn't doing anybody any favors. If they had great content, and they were still going to plan on shutting it down, like, that would be a different story. But the fact that there is essentially like nothing to do, and then the last real expansion they had was a fucking Star Wars expansion, like, it's all a mess.
I keep whenever I remember that Star Wars expansion, I just remember how in a different, like, entertainment climate where things didn't suck for like the last 10 to 8, 7 to 15 years, depending on your metrics. Like, imagine that. My buddy Dan sits down to Destiny, going strong. You know, a third Destiny on the horizon, but plenty of expansions coming down the pipe for Destiny 2. And one of them is a Star Wars expansion, and it recently just had a sequel trilogy that also didn't suck. And you would just be like giddy with excitement.
Yeah,
Imagine that world where like everything didn't just arbitrarily fucking suck.
And in that world, I would also have a Titanfall 3.
There you go.
I want to live in that world, Anthony.
You'd be sitting here talking to me. It's like, Anthony, I'm having so much fucking fun. There's Star Wars content, but I want to put more time into Titanfall 3 that just dropped. Oh my god, it's just an amazing thing.
You know what's really ironic too? All the gear and items that they added in the Star Wars expansion were actually really good and a lot of fun to use. I finally got my lightsaber. I finished the Renegades campaign like 2 weeks ago, or last week I should say. And the actual lightsaber is actually a lot of fun. It's really really cool. But like you said, in the current entertainment climate that we're in, like it just doesn't fucking mean anything. It doesn't mean anything, which stings in its own way. But yeah, anyway, let's move on from Destiny because we've definitely beat this horse to death.
I have to get my last word in on Destiny.
Oh come on, man! Why? Why do you gotta do this to me?
Not specifically you, but I did see a lot of talk where like I've seen people saying like, this will show Sony and Bungie not to mess with Destiny. Like, look at the numbers. Like right at the beginning, you compared Destiny's numbers and Marathon's numbers, and I just gotta say, listen, I wish
me in particular.
No, like people in general. You mentioned it at the beginning, but I've been seeing it throughout the week.
Oh yeah, I mean that's been going on since this announcement started, of course.
Yes, and I have to say right now to all the people out there saying that or making that comparison, it's not a fair comparison to make. You are comparing a rallying call for the last gasp of a franchise that's been running for a decade versus a replacement, essentially, revenue stream for this company that was not well received at all. If anything, I would say the fact that it only mustered the numbers that it did, if I was a cynical jackass running these companies, I would say I made the right call. Because even when the chips were on the table and like it's like this is a do or die moment, the last chance for this franchise, to really show me who's boss. If I was that cynical Sony asshole at the top of the food chain, I would say I made the right call.
Well, see, I take a little issue with that, but
I'm sure
again,
you do.
that's part of my bias-y talking.
Yeah, no, like, listen, me, Anthony, talking to you says, man, I wish Destiny didn't go down this route. I wish that all the events of the last 4 to 6, however many years were navigated, there were no issues, and Destiny was just, good for my buddies who enjoy it, and for that niche that it fills. But I would just say that, like, there are no winners here is basically what I'm saying. I'm trying to say like some people online are trying to say like this really shows that they made the wrong call and Destiny was the savior all along. And there's like, if Destiny didn't announce it was dying, it wouldn't be putting up these numbers. Both of these games were doing terribly leading up to this point. Like the numbers were like neck and neck with I think Destiny winning out in some cases. What was it like? It was like on average it was like 1,500 to 8,000 or something like that. 15,000, 8,000?
I don't think it ever got below... I think it was always like hovering around 12 to 13, like at its lowest points.
That sounds right to me. And all I'm saying, I just want to make it clear to anyone who's listening, both games were doing terribly. Destiny is just like doing good right now because it is this call to stick it to the man, so to speak. And to the credit that you said, everything, whatever they had left in the servers or whatnot, all the things that they were working on or things that they were holding back got pushed into the game. So it's like that what's that medical phenomenon where like a terminal patient very briefly like shows signs of recovery and then just immediately dies afterwards? That's basically what Destiny went through. It's not like this if I was this cynical asshole at the top of Sony or Bungie, I would be looking at these numbers and saying I made the right call to kill Destiny 2 in favor of Marathon. So
again, I don't want to linger on this for that much longer, but I both agree with you and disagree with you, and I agree with you because I think, like, on the whole, you are accurate in your assessment. Now, the only reason why I disagree with you is because based off of this last update that we did receive, I do think that the update would have come out, people would have seen like how good it was essentially. I think it would have brought a respectable amount of people back to the game. I don't think it would have brought this amount of people back that the numbers that we're seeing now. I think you're right in that regard. But I think that it would have done something. It would have at least moved the needle. I don't know by how much, but solely on the basis of everything. Like there was not one L in this update.
I get
The
that.
update was one giant win.
Yes.
So I feel like, again, I think you're absolutely accurate on the point of if it wasn't for the fact that the game is dying, then it would not see the numbers that it's seeing right now. But I still think I think it would have like doubled its player base, not 5 times it.
The only other thing I have to say just in response to that is because I agree with you based on all the people I've spoken to that play Destiny, and you obviously giving me feedback and me just reading through the patch notes and gleaning what I can. I can appreciate that this update was a massive positive change for the game.
Right.
The flip side of that is this update would not exist if the game was not dying. This is, again, everything in the kitchen sink went into this because the game is dying. If Destiny 2 had carried on, this update would not be coming out. It would be maybe bits and pieces of it. It would be balanced a very different way because the balance structure that got it to this point in the first place, alongside the content structure, and based on everything that you've told me, everything I've read up and everything like that, is like this there's no universe where Destiny 2 continues and this update, this plethora of content, also makes its way to your hands in a live Destiny, I guess I could say. Is like it's not like there was no update of this caliber coming to Destiny to keep it alive. And like you,
Well, yeah, of course not.
I'll say, like, if something like this happened, I would say double the numbers might be a good thing. What you said, maybe even a little bit more than that. I'll give that to you, because this is the only real game in its niche. But I guess it's the catch-22 there. It's like, yeah, this update's very good, but the circumstances that led to it also necessitate it dying, because like that's the only way you get this plethora of content. It's almost like when X Defiant died. That you remember X Defiant, obviously, the Ubisoft shooter, and they just gave everything away for free. Do you think you would get everything away for free if the game wasn't dying? It's that kind of
update. Not. Yeah. The only thing that I could say back to that is the fact that there was like the vast majority of Bungie didn't know this was happening. Like they were all working on content that was like an expansion or two out already than what was currently in the game. So like they didn't know that this was coming until it was announced. But I don't think that you're wrong. So again, it's a catch-22. It's a complete paradox. Like it wouldn't have said, like, this patch wouldn't have saved the game if the game wasn't already dying. But at the same time, like, it still would have moved the needle, but probably not enough to be a salvation. So it is what it is. Okay, that's enough Destiny talk. What is next on the docket?
Stuff we missed from last week.
Yes, we have the leftovers from the Summer's Game Fest. So how about you open up with Spyro? Because we just, fucking went deep into Destiny for hopefully one of the last times, but we'll see.
Yeah. So it's just, I'm surprised I missed it last week. I think we just got so caught. We were kind of against the clock, and we also got caught up in a couple of other big things. It's just, they announced a new Spyro, A Realm Beyond. It's being made by Toys for Bob, the guys that did the remasters of the Crash trilogy and the Spyro trilogy and the Crash Team Racing. It is coming out, I want to say spring of next year. I think that's when it's coming out. It is the first original Spyro game in 19 years, I think. I think that's the number. Yeah, it's been a while.
It's an original? I thought it was a remake.
No, it's a brand new original Spyro game. And there's apparently they're going to be doing some neat things with like free flight, which is something that the games always kind of tease you with certain levels. They want to go back to a kind of, I guess, simpler tone and simpler scale of the original trilogy. So that's going to be neat to see. They're bringing back Tom Kenny as Spyro's voice, who he started voicing him, I think, in Spyro 2. I think that was when he started, and he did that most of the way through. Came back for the trilogy. I don't have much to say. I do love the Spyro games. I don't know, like, it's going to be a challenge just because there's a lot of expectations, especially considering the last time we saw Spyro, it was in the remakes or the remasters. It's one of those weird in-betweens because it's like everything under the hood is supposed to be the same, but the things are different. My one gripe with the Spyro Reignited trilogy and this potential new Spyro game, and I see it in the designs already, and this isn't a brand new opinion. Other people have said this online too. I am 95% certain that there are furries on the art team. There is something in the way that the newer like designs, because there was basically, if you don't remember Spyro 1, the earlier Spyro games, there was like a couple of generic dragon designs that were used for all of the dragons you would save. Now it's like a lot of them are meant to be unique, and that's good. They want unique, but it's like the way they're drawn, it's the way they're made. It's like, I don't know if, you went from this normal looking dragon to this one with like a massive, pot belly. I'm just like, there's something in the way this is moving. There's something in the way that Spyro's, caricature is defined. Let's keep that out of the main game, please, and you'll have a winner, probably. That's all I have to say about the Spyro game, because the Spyro games are a lot of fun. I don't know I don't know how much experience you have with the Spyro games. Do you have any?
I played like one of the originals, like back when it was on the PS2. Was that even an original, or did it come out on the PS1?
The original, they came out on the PlayStation 1, but I always raise an eyebrow because it was obviously backwards compatible. You could have played the originals on the PlayStation 2.
I think it was on the PS2 because I never had a PS1. I don't even think I owned it. I probably played it at your house or something.
Yeah, you probably did. It's a fun collectathon platformer. It's got a good art style. I love the way the skyboxes looked in those older games, and it's one of those examples of a mainstream artist doing a soundtrack for a video game. They had Stuart Copeland, the drummer from The Police. He did the soundtrack for the first 4 Spyro games.
I had no idea.
Yeah, so that's neat little sequel. We'll see where that goes. We don't really know much about it. It was just one of those it's coming trailers, and then that was really it.
All right. Well, I have nothing to say about Spyro. I haven't played those games in
perfectly fine. You can
25 years.
I mean, it's based on your timeline of events. It's been that long, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I'm gonna dealer's choice for this one. Do you want to talk about Exodus first or Modern Warfare 4?
Lead with Exodus, because I think you're probably going to have more to say about Modern Warfare 4. May as well save that for last. Agreed. Of the two.
Okay, so we got a full 20, almost like 19-minute, 30-second trailer essentially for Exodus, and boy oh boy does it look good. It is probably my most anticipated game of 2027 as of right now. I'm assuming you watched it?
Yes.
Okay.
You probably remember more and have more to say, but I did watch it, yes.
Yeah, I only watched it once, but I mean, it's very Mass Effect-y, which I say that in a very positive sense. It's so Mass Effect-y that the director of the game, I think his name is Chris King, he was quoted in some article that said, yes, Mass Effect was a big influence for us, but we didn't intend for it to be like this big of an influence for us. But so much of the team came off of the Mass Effect trilogy. I don't know how many of them worked on Andromeda, but I know a lot of them worked on the entire trilogy. So, I mean, that was their bread and butter to begin with. So I can't really, I don't understand why he's like shocked by that. So, okay, I'm not going to do like a whole recap of the trailer because I'm just going based off of my memory right now. But it is definitely very Mass Effect-y. The premise is a little bit different from Mass Effect. In the Mass Effect trilogy, you were trying to stop the threat of the Reaper invasion from wiping out all sentient life in the galaxy. In Exodus, you play as June. The last name I am blanking on right now, but the first name is June. And he has like this intrinsic ability to interface with like this ancient alien technology that apparently nobody else can. And you have to go and go on some quest to like confront these celestials that they're called in the game world, and just to save your home world. That's the gist of it. But the big differentiating factor here is that they are playing around with this thing called time dilation in the game. So like when you leave on your ship and go to these other planets and go do what you're going to do and everything, when you come back, like time doesn't work the same for you versus like your family back home, for example. So like a lot more time is going to pass for them than it is you, and apparently your decisions that you make throughout the course of the game really influence this mechanic. So they didn't really show anything like too specific for the time dilation in particular, because it was mostly focusing on the gameplay and how the companions are going to work and the different systems in the game. They barely touched on the time dilation. They essentially acknowledged the fact that I was in it, and that was essentially it. But that's what I'm most curious about for the game.
Yeah.
If it's made by all the same people that did the Mass Effect trilogy, so like I don't really have any concerns about how it's going to play and even write, because Drew Capershin is writing the game, and I fucking love his body of work. So for me, it's all net positive. I'm very, very, very excited for this. And it doesn't seem as binary as like the old Paragon and Renegade systems from Mass Effect. Now it's called Paladin and Immortal, I think. But it's not like, it's not like in Mass Effect you choose one dialogue option. It was just like all Paragon or all Renegade. In this, like you're gonna be like taking away from other characters and companions and whatnot if you choose one thing. Like different things are going to adjust accordingly based on the decisions that you're making. So you're gonna have to juggle this like good versus evil balance that you're trying to strike in the game. And for me, I always play through as like the hero first, so I'm definitely going to go through and do a Paragon run, and then I'll go back and be a complete asshole. But I thought it looked great. The gameplay itself and the combat looked like a lot of fun. It looks like an evolution of Andromeda, like because Andromeda played very fluidly.
Yeah, I got that too.
Yeah. But anyway, so that's my overall reaction to Exodus. What about you?
I mean, overall, it looks, when I look at it, I kind of get the same vibes that you do. I just have less to say on the matter. It does look like an extension of that branch of Mass Effect that we saw in Andromeda. It obviously takes a lot from Mass Effect. As much as he wants to avoid it, that's just the way it's going to be. That's just, whether it's intentional or not, that's the wheelhouse they know. So that's what it's going to end up. That's what it's going to end up feeling like. I am also very interested in the time dilation aspect. I'm hoping there's like some management in when it comes to the choices and stuff like that. I hope it's a bit more in depth, because I like that kind of cause and effect aspect of managing your time and whatnot, and changing, doing something almost like you can almost look at it the way that Mass Effect 2 handled its choices, where like there was a hidden counter and order to things in the background, where like when you did different specific missions, it would advance the plot. I hope it's like almost like an evolution of that, or like almost like this is kind of like a pie in the sky hope things, but almost like a Zelda Majora's Mask kind of thing, where there's a whole set schedule to the story that you kind of need to adapt around at pivotal moments. But that's the thing that stuck out to me the most from what you've told me and everything like that. It's really just that aspect of it. I hope there's more to it than just like, oh, that's a story thing, and that's why they haven't told us about it. So we'll see what happens.
Yeah. So this is the most we've gotten to look at Exodus as a product so far. I really can't pick out like any like really overtly negative thing, whether objectively or just like for me as an individual. So I'm looking forward to it. It should be a really good time. And I think that it's supposed to come out. They said 2027. I think it might be February, but I don't know for sure. But we will keep the show posted with that one. All right, so on to Modern Warfare 4.
Yes.
So Infinity Ward showed off like it was like a decent amount of like runtime for this, but I gotta tell you, Anthony, what they showed kind of annoyed me. Ask me why.
Why is that, Daniel?
Because the entire time that this trailer ran, it was all from the perspective of a spectator watching like helmet cam footage of the DMZ gameplay, which like really rubbed me the wrong way because people have played it already. Like we know this for an objective fact. People have played DMZ. And what they decided to show during Summer Game Fest was a helmet cam of like this dead guy's teammates trying to extract from the zone. I don't know. It just that bothered me because while I really don't have any concerns about how the game is going to look, play, and feel because not all, but like so many OGs are working on the game, I have very little concerns about how it's actually going to play and feel from like a macro perspective. But like I still want to see everything. Like I'm a huge fan of the series. I want to see all the nitty gritty stuff. And you didn't see anything. Like you just saw this team of two because their third guy got taken out on the run trying to get to the extract helicopter, and it didn't show anything new. It didn't show anything overtly interesting in my opinion. It was just kind of a nothing burger, which kind of ticked me off a bit because. I mean, again, people have played it, people have seen it, like, it's a thing, everyone knows that it exists, and we still have the beta version of DMZ that you can go and play right now if you wanted to. Yeah, so why they felt the need to show it in this light is beyond me.
I feel like showings for Call of Duties has sucked pretty consistently for like 7 years. Do you remember when Modern Warfare 2019 was getting shown off, and it was like this awkward, like tournament setting where you got like a bunch of they got like a bunch of quote unquote pro players together in a room and they were like setting their own rules for how to play the game. They were trying to do like RPG only shit and like just dicking around, and we were seeing like more of the players themselves. Like Call of Duty has a massive issue in how they show their game. It's almost like they want everything to be a teaser up until like the beta where we get a chance to play it, or like the one trailer where they do all like the system breakdowns and all that stuff. So it's just I guess I don't even want to say people are eating it up because it's really just Call of Duty's a massive brand that can do whatever the fuck it wants, which is why they've been doing this consistently poorly for 7 years and even beyond that. But yeah, I mean, I don't have too much to say just because what is there to really say about Call of Duty that we haven't already?
Exactly, and like what they showed, there's nothing to fucking talk about.
Yeah,
like the
one thing anything. We were interested in was this new DMZ, and this is how they show it.
They showed it by not showing it.
There you go. Yeah.
Beyond that, I mean, they did confirm that the campaign mode is going to launch 4 days early access to anyone who pre-orders it on October, was it 16th maybe, or something like that, maybe the 18th, somewhere in that zone. But that I'm actually really happy about because I'm going to buy this game one way or the other, and at least I can plow through the campaign in the days leading up to DMZ and multiplayer launch. So I like that. A little bit of like dev insight videos that they've shared. Did you see the new execution system? Or not system, but like it was like a very short clip.
I heard about it. I didn't see too much of it, no. Because there's nothing to say.
Remember in Modern Warfare 19 where like if you snuck up on somebody, the camera came out of first person and like showed you taking down the enemy and like one-on-one type of fight. You obviously remember this, right? Yeah. So it's all in first person this time around. So like this guy comes up behind an enemy, like taps him on the shoulder and just fucking blows him away with a Desert Eagle point blank. Like it was just really cool. So that was like the only other really cool thing that I saw so far. I'm sure we'll get more info probably like late August, early September, I would imagine. But yeah, I mean the whole quote unquote reveal bugged me because they didn't fucking show anything. It was a nothing burger. That really pissed me off. Yeah. And the more I talk about it, the more angry I get over it.
Understandably so.
Yeah, because like I want to see the game, and I know I'm gonna like it at the very least. How much depends on whenever I get my hands on it, but the marketing machine is in full spin right now, so I want to see what they got under the hood. Yeah. So. Yeah, I'm assuming you've got nothing else to say.
Nothing really, no. What is it left to say? It's Call of Duty. They didn't really show too much of the one thing I wanted to see. So
right. So it is what it is. We can move on. Do you want to sprinkle in a small thing, or you want to just go right into the Xbox updates?
I mean, if you want to talk about some of the small things, it's your call.
Well, I just want to get this out of the way because we're talking about COD right now, which naturally makes me think about Titanfall, and this Titanfall makes me think about Impulse, which is something that I wanted to talk about. And are you aware of what this is, what Impulse is?
Yes.
Okay, so for anybody out there that's listening that doesn't know, Impulse is a game that is being developed by 1047 Games, the same guys who did Splitgate 1 and 2, and they are making what they are calling a spiritual successor to Titanfall. And I'm a little mixed on this, and for a couple of reasons. So number one, and I don't really have a problem with this so much as I will the next thing, the game is clearly a reskin of Splitgate 2, which is... that's fine. It's what kind of whatever. I don't have a problem with how the game itself played. It was just, it didn't really have like anything like hooking you, like didn't have an X factor to Splitgate 2 because Splitgate 1 came before that, and the novelty of the portals was already there for years at that point. So there was nothing to like really hook me in Splitgate 2, and then beyond that, like the progression was kind of terrible. But so. They announced that they were making this spiritual successor to Titanfall 2. So this game is called Impulse. It's a new movement shooter. But like I said, it's a reskin of Splitgate 2. There is no double jump like there was in Titanfall 2. You have the same jetpack that you had in Splitgate 2, which is neither here nor there overall, in my opinion, I think. But my biggest problem so far that I have seen with this game is that not everybody gets a Titan. It's not like everybody spawns in and like you're waiting for your Titan to charge so you can call it down. Yeah. The Titan is essentially a power weapon on the map that you have to fight over and that somebody is lucky enough to pilot. Now, when I learned that, my enthusiasm and any hype that I might have had for the game almost immediately deflated. Like the wind was just really taken out of my sails because the beauty about Titanfall is that both aspects of the game, whether you're playing as a pilot or as a Titan, they were both so well fleshed out and so well polished that you could have made a full game based off of just either or, right? But the fact that they were both together, it was just this spectacular secret sauce of multiplayer chaos that was, oh my god, so addicting to play. Yes. And they actually like fucking nailed progression in Titanfall 2 also. Like, you don't get XP, you get these merits, right? You get enough merits, you level up in the same system for all the weapons. Like, I thought that was a really good way to do progression. So, like, the better you perform, obviously, the more merits that you'll get, but, like, you get more merits during happy hour every day. If you had, like, a network that you played with, you can complete certain challenges, blah, blah, blah. I'm getting off topic here. So
I get what you mean.
Impulse is this new movement shooter by 1047 that wants to be the spiritual successor to Titanfall, but then you don't get to play as a Titan like 40 to 50% of the time. In general, like it just, that kind of baffles me. Like, I understand what they're going for here, but I don't think I'm gonna really love it when it comes out. So yeah, I kind of take issue with that a little bit. So that's all I really have to say about Impulse. I don't know if you have anything to say about it, but it was just disappointing to me when I learned that not everybody got a Titan.
Yeah, I feel like this is the thing is with trying to make a spiritual successor of Titanfall. I think it just doesn't work because almost everybody that has stepped up to the plate to do this is also trying to do their own thing, which I don't inherently hate, but you can't market it as like, we love Titanfall, we know you love Titanfall, so we're going to do something slightly different than Titanfall, because it does disservice to your own ideas. You can say, oh, we took some inspiration from, but I feel like everyone who has attempted to be like, we're going to do the Titanfall that we want, but nobody has stepped up to make yet, we're going to do it, almost always diverges into some, like, branching path that the Titanfall formula can go off to, which again would not be a problem, but you're selling it as the Titanfall 3 that we all want. And I don't know. I don't have much to say about the game itself. I take less issue with them reusing certain things because you got to remember all of the shooters that we know and love, with the exception of Titanfall. Titanfall's on the Source engine, right? Yeah.
It's a heavily modified Source engine.
Yes. I always get it mixed up because I remember my mind immediately goes to Apex. They're both on the Source engine, but like that's it makes me forget. But all the shooters that we know and love are like all like you can trace the family tree all the way back on one singular engine. You know, the Call of Duties, the Quakes, Dooms, everything is like a branch off of like the core Quake stuff and all that kind of stuff. And it's just like I don't mind. I think I said at one point where I'm just like I don't mind when companies reuse where it's smart, as long as you don't get lazy. So if they're reusing some assets, you know, they're like a AA studio at most. I don't mind if they reuse a couple things as long as it's in service of a better experience, you know?
Yeah, I didn't have a problem with them like reskinning Splitgate essentially. My problem was with the design choices of the way that the game plays. So, yeah, we'll see how that works. We're supposed to get a demo on Tuesday, I think. So I'm definitely going to be trying that out. But that's all. I wanted to just bring it up because otherwise I was going to forget. So yeah, that's Impulse. Okay, take the lead on these Xbox updates because there's been, a little bit going on behind the scenes that you probably know more about than I do.
Yeah, there's nothing too really exciting. It's just after all the actual exciting news where we were talking about E-Day, we're talking about all these different games and whatnot that got announced. A lot of the business side stuff kind of surfaced or came to light, and everybody was talking about where the company could be heading, where the studios could be heading, and basically there's some kind of major reset that's like on the approach. We don't know.
Okay, so this is these rumors then that we're talking about. Okay.
Yeah. Basically, the hard facts is that obviously Xbox has been losing money. Everybody, I think everything that they own except for Activision has been operating at a loss for about $500 million or something like that.
Yeah, something like that.
Yeah, and it's just a 5-year trend going downward. Hurts the profitability, hurts everything like that. And, this is on top of like the pains in the industry of stuff like making these consoles cost more than ever. And it's affecting Xbox more than the other companies. Like they're losing hundreds of dollars on these consoles, and where typically the margin is supposed to remain somewhere around like $50 to $100. All these consoles
like
sell at
per
a loss,
console.
Yeah, like the consoles have always sold on a loss. It's just to build them. So we both know this. And basically they're reevaluating their business models because just from all the money they've spent, the directions they've gone, it's all going to change in some way, shape, or form because I think the words were like evolve and rebuild or something like that. There's a lot of rumors going around as to what that might mean. They might spin it off into its own thing so it's not as attached to Microsoft, which, I mean, they've done that with a few other companies in their in properties that they've owned, and they've seen some success. And it's also led to I don't know what it is, man, there's something about the press in general that just has it out for Xbox, more than Sony, more than Nintendo. I don't think Xbox has anyone in their corner in the games journalism area where there's some very devout Sony and Nintendo fans that'll just defend whatever those companies do. Xbox has just been getting hammered with misleading reports. They're just they want to put ads in Game Pass or something like that, and you have the guy who said that coming out is like, oh, that's a thing I said before I joined the company. I don't actually think that, and all that kind of stuff. So it's been an interesting week following an actual exciting week for Xbox where there's still a lot up in the air. There's more layoffs coming. Before anything happens game-wise or going into the next generation, they're going to see some kind of shake-up to, make it a profitable business again.
Yeah, it can mean a whole lot of different things. When I heard about the rumor that Microsoft could possibly spin off Xbox to, distance themselves or whatever, I mean, I immediately was not filled with dread or anything because that could potentially be a net positive because Microsoft, all they really care about right now is their AI co-pilot, and nobody wants it.
Yeah, nobody wants that.
So it could be an interesting route for Xbox to go. I think it would heavily depend on who would buy the brand to begin with. I think people have been tossing around Tencent of who could actually invest the
I mean that's one route. The leading idea is that it just spins off into its own separate thing aside from Microsoft. There is the possibility that like there would be like a new ownership overall, like at the top, but like there's just talk like Xbox needs to kind of stand on its own, you know, which would obviously come in great financial cost to it, but at the same
Yeah.
time, you wouldn't have Microsoft hanging over it the entire time.
Yeah, I also don't think that Satya Nadella would handpick Ashish Sharma to lead Xbox for no reason to just to spin the brand off. Like to me, that doesn't really make any sense unless if
Yeah.
things are like a lot worse than we think,
I
which is
mean,
very
I
possible.
think this is just them putting it on the table as an option if things don't go their way going forward. I don't think the things that we talked about with like potential spinning off or selling to somebody else is on the in the immediate future. I think it's just more layoffs and a change in direction is what's more
Hmm.
likely to happen in the immediate future. Because you know it's we've heard everything at this point. Oh, we got to focus on this. We got to focus on that. We got to focus on the other thing. It's up in the air. But the whole point is like after this honeymoon period of like games getting announced and a new head stepping in and saying all the right things, which
Oh, dude, I'm
we
still
said,
waiting for the other shoe to drop. I don't trust her.
we're basically we see the shoe is in sight. It's just a matter of what exact shape of footprint it's going to leave when it hits the dirt.
Ain't gonna be no Dr. Scholl's in that bitch, that's for sure.
But yeah, so that's just a little small update with Xbox now that so a lot of the exciting announcements have come and gone.
Yeah. All right. Well, with that out of the way, tell me about what's going on with Ubisoft. You got that on the docket. I got no idea what you're talking about.
Yeah, so Ubisoft was just kind of has been quiet, which is surprising given like all the announcements and whatnot recently coming through. But they did manage to squeak in and be Ubisoft as they are one to do.
Oh, yes.
Their main showing, you probably saw this already, was the Rayman Origins remake, right?
I didn't. I know it exists. I didn't watch any of it. I'm not interested in that.
Yeah, you're not missing much. I mean, I first and foremost, Rayman Origins the remake, completely unnecessary because the gameplay style and art style and music style of that game basically encases it in in a timeless capsule, so to speak. You know, like something like it's like saying like in 10 years from now, it's like, oh, we should remake Cuphead. Like you don't remake Cuphead.
Yeah,
It's like
no
yeah,
reason.
exactly. There's like no reason for it. So right off the bat, it was dead. It was dead in the water to anyone who, you know. There's obviously a group of people out there who's like, oh my god, new thing. I gotta have it. I'm such a big Rayman. Rayman is in my bio on my online profile. I love Rayman. I love it more than you. I gotta buy it. I gotta support it. It's mine. And you're
Stop
a
yelling at me.
bad person. You're a bad person if you tell me that I'm just a consumer. Don't you see the Rayman in my bio? And look, I'm changing my name. My handle online is now the CEO of Rayman. I always loved Rayman, and I'm gonna buy this because I'm a good Rayman fan. And I look at this, Dan. I look at this Rayman. It's basically like when I heard the rumors of this, I'm just like, there's no reason for this. And watching it in action kind of confirmed that because it's like you have these lovely drawn elements. Like I wasn't a huge fan of it, but I understood it and I respected what it tried to do. It's like 3D models in place of these 2D models, and the way that the levels line up. You see, there's clipping right in front of your face because that's just how the games were designed. The colors are washed out. The lighting is like unreal, aggressive. This same like blinding, like this bloom. It's this whole thing. It doesn't look good, is what I can say, especially in comparison to, you know, the game it's being a remake of. And there's obviously people arguing about it because that's just remakes lead to arguments. That's just how it fucking is. Because we just remake games that don't need to be remade. I might have more to say on that later. But yeah, so this came out and it's been divisive since it got announced. But during this announcement period, they also did a handful of interviews about it. There was one interesting one, which I both respect what they said, but also call it a cop-out, where, like, somebody asked them, is like, are you ever going to remake the first Rayman game ever? And have you ever played it? I've played it a handful of times.
Maybe, but I'm going to lean towards no on that one.
Yeah. The first Rayman game is a very slow-paced, explorative platformer game. You're not running all over the place like the Rayman Origins game or the Legends and all that kind of stuff. It's you basically, like, you're walking at a brisk pace, you're doing methodical jumps, you're going around, you're collecting stuff, and there's multiple different worlds to explore. And they basically said it's a near impossible mission to do that because, like, the old school design, you know, the slower pace and all that kind of stuff, it's something that, like, audiences wouldn't like consume, and if they tried to change it too much, to modernize it, it wouldn't be respectful to the people who like the original. And number one, the first thing I say is like, wow, good for you in that level of fucking restraint, because most people would just remake the fucking thing and kick it out the door to get some, you know, like just get whatever money they could squeeze out of the brand. The other thing is, fuck what modern audiences want. If you want to remake it, just remake it, you know. And then they also said something that was also very smart, and they basically said that Rayman Origins, both the original and this remake that they're doing, it's already like a soft reboot of the Rayman series, so it's like they didn't need to do it anyway. I'm like, yep, that's pretty much the case. That's true. Still wish you didn't remake this game, because nothing I've seen so far justifies it. There's a handful of like new levels and shit, but it's just like you didn't need to remake it. That's what I'm sticking to. The last thing to say about this whole Ubisoft situation is they basically said, if you want a Rayman 4, go out and buy this remake. And I said, fuck you. Why this attitude because fans have this attitude too. It's like, why would you go out and buy something you don't want, that you don't like, in order for a potential new game that might not even be made the way that you want anyway? Like, what kind of messaging and signaling are we doing here? It's like, buy bad thing that has nothing you want in it, and is in some cases disrespectful to the thing you like, so that maybe we'll make something you like later. That does not make any sense to me. So
these companies, as you know, are very much in touch with reality.
Fuck the companies, fuck the straw man fan I set up at the very beginning when I exploded very briefly. Fuck all these people. Fuck them. So I just thought I'd check in on Ubisoft. There's also the rumors that they were doing backroom deals with politicians in the EU to get ahead of the Stop Killing Games movement. But
I heard about that.
Yeah, that's that's scummy. I wouldn't put it past him.
is a fucking snake. I've said that before.
Yeah,
maybe on this show. I think I'm.
You may have mentioned it. You definitely brought up that you didn't like the guy, but yeah. So Ubisoft stock continues to tank. And I don't know, man, like, I guess Tencent's going to be owning more of the company in the near future if things keep up this way.
Maybe it'll go in a better direction, because they have not been doing anything good in the past
years.
Decade or something.
Yeah, I thought
ridiculous amount of time.
I thought the hits were going to stop when Tencent got involved. I thought it was going to be like they were going to have their own little restructuring, which they really did, but
No, I don't know if you knew this at the time, but like when they signed that deal with Tencent, somehow, I don't know how he managed to pull this off, but Yves Guillemot, he managed to retain creative control of the company, like in the contract.
Him and his family had creative control, but I'm also referring to the fact that shortly after that, there were deals about specific IPs, and the company itself went through restructuring. I thought it would slow all of this down, but they just seem to be up to their same tricks. I'm honestly fucking stunned.
Yeah, I don't know, man. Fucking Ubisoft, they were once a complete industry leader, and now not so much.
Nope, not even close.
God. So just to go back real quick on Impulse, the demo is available now. I didn't
there you go. Hey.
Yeah, I'm actually installing it as we speak.
Excellent. Cool.
Anywho, okay, so boy oh boy have I been looking forward to this.
Oh boy.
Tell me about the fighting game community, Anthony.
All right, so this one's probably.
Wait. Before you start with this, okay, I watched Mortal Kombat 2 on Friday.
Oh, did you?
I don't. Yeah, this made me think about it. It was the most meh movie I've seen in a long time. I can't even describe to you how boring the fight choreography was. It was not fun to watch. There were like two cool fatalities. I'm sorry to keep cutting you off. There were like two cool fatalities, right? Yeah. Everything else, like the way people were killed, not Mortal Kombat in the slightest. And I'm not even like a huge Mortal Kombat fan. Of course, I've played the games. I probably played Mortal Kombat maybe one, the most of all. But like, I never owned it. I played it at friends' houses. Oh,
the original?
The NetherRealm one.
So like the newest one?
ONE. Yeah.
Mortal Kombat 1? The one that's the latest in the series?
No, maybe it was X. It was some like weird title. I don't fucking remember. This was like 5 years ago at this point.
It was probably X or XL.
Okay. Yeah, that sounds about right. But anyway, point being, Mortal Kombat 2, the movie, like, they could have done so much more with Carl Urban because he's a great actor. But like, fucking Johnny Cage, he had like one nutcracker or nut puncher, whatever the fuck that move is called of his. But I don't know. I just thought it was really boring. Like, watching Mortal Kombat 2 made me want to go back and watch The Raid because The Raid is infinitely more entertaining. Anyway, go on. I'm sorry.
It's funny you say that. Mortal Kombat 2 is actually seen as an improvement over the first Mortal Kombat movie.
I know. That's the scary part.
Mortal Kombat as a thing outside of video games, when it gets its extended media, you get really cheap animation and you get the occasional college try in live action, which is to say that it doesn't go very well. It's just kind of eh.
Yeah. I remember watching Mortal Kombat 1 and thinking to myself, man, this sucked. And I didn't think that Mortal Kombat 2 sucked. I just thought it was boring. They could have just done so much more and didn't. Anyway, You're talking about fighting games. It just popped in my head because I watched it like 2 days ago.
Yeah, so there were a handful of things that happened for fighting games in the last. First and foremost is EVO, Tournament Series EVO. I've talked to you about this a handful of times, correct?
Yes. Oh, yes.
See, leading up to EVO, which I think it's like at the beginning of next month, they always do like a little thing like, look at the entrant leaderboards, and it was always a lot of fun for them because like basically what they would do is they would show like, oh, look how big EVO's getting, look how awesome it is, look at the entrants, look we have like thousands more than we did last year, right? And Dan, it's basically a 50% drop from last year. Let's see, we got Street Fighter 6 at 2,400. Down from 6,000. We got Tekken 8, 1,300, down from 2,500. 2XKO, first year, good showing. It managed to get above 1,000, which is awesome for a game that is basically at death's door if it doesn't play its cards right. We have Rivals of Aether 2, which got to 1,000 because apparently there was an influencer just doing free registrations. We have, yeah, exactly. Like, I don't know why this was allowed, but whatever. You have Guilty Gear Strive, which is at 900, still more than it deserves, and then everything else is below 500. Yeah, Grand Blue, Fatal Fury, Invincible Versus. It's a pitiful showing across the board. And there's a lot of people making noise about this. They're just like, oh my god, it's terrible. How did this happen? Some people are saying you get what you deserve. I'm going to tell you exactly what the reasons are behind this, right? 3 key reasons. First of all, cost. Everything is more expensive. You have the tickets and passes for the event are more expensive than they've ever been. Going to Vegas itself is very fucking expensive. Food, accommodation, everything, massively expensive. The other thing is just a declining interest in not fighting games as a whole, because I think the main fighting games, Street Fighter is doing great numbers right now. Tekken's numbers are stabilizing. The fact that 2XKO isn't dead is rather impressive, giving all of its misgivings. So not a complete decline in people playing video games, but a general disinterest in competing in fighting games. I think people are like going to these events. The FGC's kind of lost its luster. More people are seeing through the bullshit. When people get burned once, they don't typically come back. So I think there's a general declining interest in going to these events, especially as esports starts kind of worming its way into everything. And then the last thing I would say is the lowered prestige of the event. I mentioned before that they're doing like, 12 EVOs a year now, or was it 7? They're doing multiple EVOs a year now. So like this main stage event is no longer has the luster that it used to, and I think that's putting off a lot of people from wanting to spend that extra money. You know, like the same way that you're willing to go out and, go out to a nice restaurant or go on vacation, all that kind of stuff. At a certain point, the cost just isn't fucking worth it. And I think EVO, the little cross between cost going up and EVO not being what it once was, and the fighting game community kind of sucking, I think it leads to this massive decline. There are people out there, Dan, who will say I missed a few things though. I'll say what they would say. They would say like, oh, it's the World Cup. Oh, it's the fact that the Saudis own the thing now and people are, they're boycotting. And I actually heard someone say it's because of fascism in the United States.
Oh my God, come on.
To all of these people, you are out of your fucking mind. The overlap between World Cup and fighting game players is incredibly small to the that's a non-factor in stopping in making these entrants drop as drastically as they did. When it comes to the Saudis, I hate to break it to you, but there are very, very, very few people who are actually boycotting over the Saudi involvement. That includes your influencers. I think there's only 2 influencers worth mentioning that have actually, stuck to their guns, and it's only because they've already won multiple awards at this event. They make all of their money on streaming anyway. They don't really give a shit, so they're actually willing to step back. But even then, it's not that many people. It's actually hysterical. There was one in particular who was like this really vocal, annoying asshole. He flat out said the Saudis, they're genociding the gay people, and wouldn't you know it, Dan? He was at Evo Japan on the main stage, so I guess it wasn't that big a fucking deal to him. But yeah, all this is to say is that a lot of the issues that I've talked about frequently have led to not so much a death by 1,000 cuts thing, because that's not really the case here. It's just all of these issues are at a converging point. I would be interested to see what the numbers were if everything was a bit cheaper. I'd be willing to say there would still be at least a 25 to 30% decline, because I think there's a lot of issues that go into this, and I don't think if the costs were back to normal, the costs wouldn't be at yeah, fuck it, I'll spend money on a plane ticket and a trip to Vegas. It's not quite there, So that was the first bit of fighting game news. You have major declines in Evo entrants, and we'll see about viewership. I have a feeling viewership will decline too, but not that much, not that drastically. Now, a bit of an update on the different games going on there with Street Fighter, still one of the big leaders. A couple things have happened recently. They announced that they're no longer doing World Tour content, which is their single-player content. That ended with the most recent DLC character. They said that going forward, they're not going to add any major new mechanics, which is a big deal, because typically around the halfway mark in a Street Fighter's lifespan or in a video game's lifespan, they try to play around with different mechanics to kind of close the gap in gameplay that becomes apparent after millions of people go out and actually try your game. It happened with 3, it happened with 4, it happened with 5, it happens with all the competitors. It's just something they like to play around with. But they're basically saying that the game would be too complex if they tried to add anything. I don't think that's a great move, but that's what's going to end up happening, unless they decide to change something. They also mentioned that they want Street Fighter 6 to have a 10-year life cycle, which, I mean, power to them. I like it when games get support for that long, but if they're going to keep this game going for 10 years, so 2033, they need to get more aggressive with their downloadable content. We can't be doing 4 characters a year. We can't be doing no more content on the side. If you want Street Fighter 6 to look good and be healthy at the end of it, there needs to be some kind of aggression or change. I would say to the point where you need to change your year 4 plans, but definitely by the time we hit year 5, there needs to be some kind of major change up or something, because you can't just do 4 characters a year for 10 years. That doesn't work, right?
Yeah, it doesn't seem substantial enough.
Yeah, what are we, Destiny here? Come on.
Come on, man. You didn't take that cheap shot. The wound is still fresh. Don't be an asshole.
I know. I'm just sticking with you. There was also some comments from the Street Fighter team on esports. The president of Capcom came out to shove his foot right in his fucking mouth. Because he basically said, he's like, oh, we got to get more players on board. He mentioned, as I've said to you before, that esports operates at a massive launch. And then he finished up by saying, we don't need excessive fan service anymore. Now, Dan, there's a few reasons I take issue with that one particular statement. Number one, it doesn't reflect in the game, because there's plenty of, you and Luke saw plenty when we sat you down to play Street Fighter 6 this one time. There are plenty of, outfits with fan service in them. You shouldn't be cracking down on them to begin with, and just mentioning it at all just makes it a hot button topic. Just do what you're doing. Don't subtract these elements of your game for esports. Don't say you're doing it and not do it. Just don't bring attention to it. Just make the fucking game. I have no idea why he felt the need to say that, because it doesn't reflect in the game, and it's just off-putting to everybody who hears you say that. So that was just a weird thing. We don't need to be... No aspect of these games should be designed with esports in mind, be it character designs or gameplay. That's how you end up with very boring and sanitized games. So that's pretty much what's going on with Street Fighter. I still think Street Fighter 6 is in a very good place. It's in a very complacent place, unfortunately, and I was really hoping, this confirmation of like, oh, we're not going to add too many major mechanics. I hope that doesn't rule out some kind of balance tweaks or something, because Street Fighter 6 needs a shot in the arm the same way that 3, 4, and 5 all kind of landed like at its halfway point to its their later points, because all the Street Fighters have gotten updates throughout the years to like be better as things went on, and that's I just hope Street Fighter 6 gets something like that. Other
for your sake, I hope so too. Be a little bit more supportive than you were with Destiny.
Hey, I went out of my way to say like, damn it, I wish Destiny didn't die, right? I took my issues with it, but I never I was supportive in it doing what it needed to outside of a few activist driven things, but that's just a universal thing with all games. The only other fighting game to mention, like I already mentioned, like 2XKO is like alive, which is fucking shocking to me. But Tekken's been going through the ringer, man. They've been losing people left and right to the point where somebody came out and said, we're not going to be talking about who's working on the game anymore. We have a major red flag. They lost people that have been around. Like, obviously, they lost Harada, that one guy. They lost him. He made a big deal about it. But then they lost a battle director who stepped into that position after essentially being groomed for the position. He left. He was, like, around for Soul Calibur, the older Tekkens, all that kind of stuff. He's gone now. Where we don't know where the leadership for this game is or what they're doing, and Namco's in a kind of a bit of like that turbulent times where like executives at the top are exerting way too much pressure. I don't think the company's in trouble, and I don't even think Tekken's in trouble, because like I said, their numbers have kind of corrected. They're still fighting for that comfortable number 2 spot behind Street Fighter. I think they're in a fine. They're not in a fine spot, but they're in a recovery spot where they can manage it. Where a lot of their issues are issues throughout the like genre, where it's just like, oh, the balancing is kind of all over the place, and in some cases it's like fighting game balancing kind of goes into one of two spots for major players. Either you balance it much too safe, like a Street Fighter 6, where you're trying to like make everything esports friendly and overly balanced, right? And then you can go the Tekken 8 route, which is like, we need to innovate, we need to make it flashy and exciting to get new players on board, and that's the route that Tekken's going. And I just, despite that fact that like I take issue with it and I know it hurts the health of the game long term, it's attracting and keeping enough players, not legacy players like my buddy Tom, who has a lot of bad and nasty things to say about Tekken, but enough to keep, like I talked to a handful of people. I have a other, smaller group of friends, and the younger guys that are trying to get into different fighting games. They play a lot of Tekken 8 and they enjoy it. Now, here's the thing. I'm not saying because they enjoy it, Tekken's all good and healthy. I'm just saying optimally, you have a Tekken that welcomes veteran players and newcomers alike, but they're still making out with one of those groups. So Tekken's in a better spot than I think some people are giving it credit for. It's almost to the point where like all the people complaining are just like old men sitting on the porch complaining about how things used to be, and that's sad because they're not actually old men and they are the core Tekken audience. But if they really needed to cut and run on those pros, a lot of whom will still play just because it has Tekken on the box, they have the newer players. Like the newer players are on board as far as I can tell. So that's just a little bit of update on fighting games in general, and kind of a pulse check on Street Fighter and Tekken. There's nothing really to say about the other ones. 2XKO is still alive. Rivals of Aether will likely not be relevant after its fudge numbers at EVO. Strive should have died a long time ago, and I hope it kills the franchise when it does. And every other game on there, not much to say. I wish Fatal Fury had a better audience because it's a fine little game. That's what's going on in the world of fighting games right now, done very quickly and sloppily. Daniel,
no, that was quick.
as quick as I could muster.
Fair enough. I got basically no input. That's not my arena.
Was it understandable? Did you get where I was coming from?
Yeah, no, it was. Okay. I did empathize with you on the Street Fighter 6 front, though. I hope they get their act together on that one.
Yeah, because my whole thing is like, I'd love to see the newer games survive. At the end of the day, I can grab Harrison, I can go into the mines, and we can just play games from the 90s and 2000s and 2010s. That's fine by me. My favorite Guilty Gear came out like 2 decades ago. My favorite versus Capcom came out nearly 2 decades ago. Like, it's on you to make a game that I like. I give Street Fighter 6 it's time. I enjoy it. I want it to be the better game for everybody that I know it can be. And I just think they're playing it much too safe from on multiple fronts. But it's a genre-wide thing that's multifaceted and can't really be condensed into a 2-hour podcast format unless we give it all the time in the world, which we will not be doing.
Yep, fair enough. Fair enough. All right, moving on from the world of fighting games, I see you put the Nintendo Direct on here. So
Yes.
I didn't watch any of the Nintendo Direct. That's not really my thing.
That's perfectly fine.
The only thing that I did see was the teaser for the Ocarina of Time remake.
Yes.
Which I'm sure you have thoughts on.
Yeah, I have some thoughts on that. I mean, they didn't really show much. I'll just rapid
you
fire
can't
it.
go,
Just
you can't go like too deep because we are reaching the end of our rope shortly.
There's nothing there to really go into anyway. But just to rapid fire it, the standouts, like there's a handful of standouts. First, Capcom just showed up and they're just like, oh yeah, we're gonna put Devil May Cry 5 on there. I'm like, okay, that's kind of neat. But also they had the most casual announcement of something I've seen in a long time, where they're like, oh yeah, by the way, Dragon's Dogma is coming to the Switch, and we're doing an expansion on it. Here you go. Just Dragon's Dogma 2 out of the blue is getting a new expansion and a ton of quality of life updates. And it's done in such a casual fashion that I really don't have much to say. It's a new region of the game. They're rebalancing a ton of things. I'm hoping that they said they're changing the save system. I hope that means they're adding more save slots, because I'll go in and I'll do a fresh new playthrough of Dragon's Dogma 2 if that's the case. They're removing all of the monetized DLC. They're tweaking the fast travel system. Basically, all of the quality of life and major changes people wanted, both the stuff I agree with and the stuff I don't, is being added to the game with this new expansion. And they're basically they're lowering the price, saying come buy the expansion if you want, or buy it brand new, whatever you want to do, and you can jump right in. And that's good, because as much as I would have liked to see like the original vision be like retained and refined, they're basically just taking the brakes off, so to speak. And again, I'm only doing this because it's relevant. It's almost like the update that Destiny 2 just got, where they're just like, well, fuck, we'll just give you whatever. That's what it comes off as to me. They're making it like a consumable version of this, which is something a lot of RPGs tend to be doing. So that was something that stood out to me. I was like, wow, holy shit, really, you're doing that? The big winner of this event is the Xeno games. I'm sure you've heard of at least a little bit about Xenoblade Chronicles.
Yeah, I know of them. I've never played a single one.
It's not your wheelhouse.
Not my thing.
Not even close. Xenoblade Chronicles was very, very popular. The 1, 2, and 3. All of them are getting updates for the Switch 2 version. So 1, 2, and 3 are going to have they're going to be refined and updated for the Switch 2. They announced Xenoblade Genesis, so it's like the next step in the series. In the 90s, you had Xenogears, then you had Xenosaga, then you had Xenoblade Chronicles, now you have Xenoblade Genesis. Brand new game that's coming out next year. Big win. In general, it's a big win in Japan, because there are a ton of RPGs and JRPGs and SRPGs that were announced during this. You had those Xenoblade games, you had Metaphor, you had one of the Mana games, I can't remember which, that's being announced. They showed off the new Fire Emblem, they showed off all this different stuff. They showed off a new RPG, 2D HD RPG for Final Fantasy, which is actually like a reimagining of a mobile game that was popular like 10 years ago. That's pretty neat. And all these RPGs are a big win for Nintendo and all the associated companies, because JRPGs on Nintendo consoles, especially the portable ones, they do amazingly well in Japan. Like, it's crazy. So like, this is a big win for Nintendo. The Japanese version of the Direct also had a couple of cool things, like they're remaking one of those older Toho games. One of the most popular visual novels of all time is getting a reboot. Hopefully they don't fuck with the script. It was just overall, it was an okay showing. It was kind of boring in a lot of ways, but like, I can see where the wins are coming from. I'm almost looking at it too analytically. But the
you Too analytical? Nah.
I know. The two major things they showed Kingdom Hearts 4. Nobody was expecting that to show up there. They showed never before seen gameplay, and they also said fuck you to all the people who bought the cloud versions of the Kingdom Hearts games, because those are getting completely delisted, no refunds, but you can buy the physical editions of these games for the Switch 2 for a fresh new price if you want. So Kingdom Hearts showed up to showcase something nobody was expecting, and also say fuck you to their customers. Whoever bought in on the cloud-based gaming, it's a scam, don't do it. And then the last thing, as you mentioned, was the Ocarina of Time remake, which we saw basically nothing. It was just a little teaser thing, and a lot of people are skeptical for multiple reasons. There's a majorly stupid argument going on where they're just like, oh, it looks too realistic, it looks too this, looks too that. I'm just like, it does kind of look a little gimmicky, like it almost looks like all those like fan remake trailers that have been thrown around. Okay. My main thing is, like, I don't want to see Ocarina of Time, arguably one of the best games ever made, being reimagined with the newer Legend of Zelda format, where it's like open world and there's durability on the weapons.
I always hated that, the durability on the. So like I tried to play through Breath of the Wild, and I couldn't do it because I could not stand the durability on the weapons. I just put it down. It wasn't. Yeah.
I managed to get through Breath of the Wild, and I liked it for what it was, but it's like, my problem with Breath of the Wild is not the game itself. My problem with Breath of the Wild is the fact that everybody, fans and like the producers and the developers, looked at it and said, this is where we want Zelda to be for like the foreseeable future. And I definitely don't want to see that trickle back, because it's like, Ocarina of Time is already an early open world experience. It exists there. It's mostly linear, but there's some leeway you had, like where you can go once the game really opens up. I don't need that, like, I don't need that expanded in a superficial way that the newer games learned. Like, I don't need a Breath of the Wild version of Ocarina of Time. I just need, optimally for me, Dan, what I would want is I want the original experience. I want them to go into the archives and dig up Ura Zelda. Did I ever mention that to you?
What Zelda?
Ura Zelda, or another Zelda, I think. U-R-A. No. Okay. Back when the Nintendo 64 was new, they played around with a device called the Nintendo 64 disk drive, which was essentially an attachment that went to the bottom of the Nintendo 64. You put in these larger cartridges, and you had better experiences. It launched in Japan. No, you don't.
No? I remember something that attached to the N64.
Yeah, there were peripherals. This one specifically, you definitely don't remember, because it launched in Japan, it flopped horribly, and never came to the United States. There were a few cool things that you could do on that, like, for example, like F-Zero.
Yeah, of course.
They made an expanded version of F-Zero X, the Nintendo 64 version. If you got that cartridge and you plugged it in, there was a whole track editor and everything. Like, you could make your own tracks. Very advanced for the time. They were going to do, and all this is leading to, they were going to do a version for Ocarina of Time called Ura Zelda, which they were going to add new dungeons. They were going to add like really advanced stuff for the time. Like, they wanted you to be able to walk and interact with the world and like come back like days later and have like your footprints are still in the sand, you know, the things you destroyed are still broken, like the world's recovering. But the main thing is they were going to add new equipment, new dungeons, new parts of the world. I would say go dig all that shit up, put that in the game, expand on it in a meaningful way. I don't need some gimmicky bullshit or like adding the new formula backwards. Like Ocarina of Time, well, I don't fillet it quite like some people. It is one of the best games ever made. It is the perfect fairy tale game, and it functions well. It's got great music. It's got a very expressive world. It's got great pacing. It's got the perfect ratio of content to pacing. It's just a great game. Its weaknesses are weaknesses that only exist because of the formula. Like, I always wanted more things to do on the side where I could like upgrade, or not upgrade, but like get newer weapons, newer ways to interact with the world, you know? And I don't think Nintendo is capable of remaking this in a substantive way that makes its existence worthwhile. I think this is really just where Nintendo's at right now. It's like I called the Switch 2 the kick the can console. They're doing a lot of kick the can moves. They're remaking Star Fox for the 4th time. They're remaking the Ocarina of Time. They did a remake of Super Mario RPG. They're not going to dig into their coffers for franchises like F-Zero or anything like that. The only Metroid game on that console is there because they had a Metroid game in development for 6 years. They're playing it much too safe, and I don't think they're really capable of handling something as polished, well made, and I don't want to be cringe like this, but like atmospheric and ambient in the way that the Ocarina of Time was. I just think there's gonna be too much lost in translation. And the big red flag for me was amazingly in this brief teaser that we saw, Link looks wrong. He, like, outfit choices aside, if you look at him, he has that one problem that a lot of creators struggle with, where it looks like an adult's head on a child's body. Like, people just don't know how to make child-looking characters anymore. Now, obviously, it's a brief snippet. There's more to see, which is why I don't want to harp too much on it. But I don't have faith. It looks wrong to me, and the like, you heard me rant once about, like, you could never remake Silent Hill 1, and then they announced they're going to remake it. I'm like, they're not up to the task and all that kind of stuff, right? The astronomical. This is an astronaut. Like, I don't see it going well. I can foresee a lot of Nintendo faithful people going, oh man, this is going to be awesome, and like consuming whatever's put in front of them. But I don't see it going well.
It's probably gonna do well critically just because of what it is, how much people are gonna glaze it and everything.
Yeah.
And then whatever new generation of gamers that are gonna come and play this, I don't think it's gonna have the same effect as the original had.
No,
but
it's just not.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, they didn't really show anything other than Link fucking sleeping.
Yeah, I mean that's like the big opening scene. I also don't want any voice acting, but we're probably gonna get voice acting. It's just, I don't know.
Oh, that's that's a losing battle for you.
Yeah, it's just it's very very silly, all of it, and it really this week in particular has been pretty wild, or the last month I should say has been pretty wild for remakes, because remake fatigue is kind of setting in. People are getting sick of it in the video game space, I should say, because you had Rayman Origins we talked about, Persona 4 Revival. You have all these different things, and it's kind of sad because, like, it's one thing for me, the asshole, to be like, with my magnifying glass going, oh, you got this one thing wrong, and me being a critical asshole online. But I really, at the end of the day, I just want people to enjoy video games. And these remakes just lead to division, because it's like, it's very rare for major companies to respect the original releases, like, at a ground level. Like, they push these things out to, like, essentially replace the originals, and not with any particular, like, goal in mind of, like, oh, we gotta do this justice, or these ideas that we had. It's like, it's been said before that the Resident Evil 1 remake is like the best remake of all time, and it's because it stands on its own. You can go play the original, you can play the remake, and you can get something from both experiences. It expands on the original in a meaningful way. But it's just like, what ends up happening now is you have these remakes, they're made in bad faith. They're made to make the games more accessible or to turn a quick profit. And what ends up happening is you have people, it just leads to arguing for fans of your property, because you'll have people that'll just consume anything or make these games their entire identity, and they'll argue with people who want more or want better or want things to be good or excellent or have some kind of self-respect or some kind of desire, when if you just made the good remake in the first place, everybody would be happy. Even people like me will begrudgingly play the game as long as you don't do anything directly insulting. I'll gripe a bit about, like, oh, you got the shade of color wrong, or you didn't nail this tone and pacing wrong. But if it's made in good faith, there's nothing intentionally wrong with it. Like, you just make a good product that everybody enjoys. But nowadays, it's really just modernization, reimagining, reborn. These ideas are reborn, and it's also disingenuous and awful, and it's I think I pointed out, it's like a new game comes out, that's a remake of an old beloved property. The company sweeps the original under the rug in some way. The fans argue. Any player with standards that is playing for a reason other than a game being new and shiny, they lose. And then the people that end up playing these remake versions and talk about how great they are and how awesome they are, they move on to the next thing and they barely remember what they just fucking played. You know, I mentioned Persona 4 Revival before. There's a whole kerfuffle about that because I already told you a bit. Like, I think there's going to be some manipulation in the script. We're going to see what happens. I don't know yet. But Persona 3 Reload came out before that, and it failed as a remake. Like, it's a fine, polished experience, but as a remake, it failed. And if you argued about it when it was new, people would call you like the worst things in the world because you, or like, oh, you just like your old shit, and they would post like the older, like, mangled ports disingenuously, and they argue with you. If you try to have that conversation now, those loud people are just, they're not talking about Persona 3 Reload anymore because they don't remember it, they don't give a shit about it. They're talking about Persona 4 Revival because it's the new thing, it's the flashy thing, it's the thing that they can stand around and say, oh, I always loved this thing, it's my whole fucking online identity. So it's just like, now looking back, again using Persona as an example, there's now like 4 versions of the original Persona 3, and there's like no like definitive version of it. There's just a newer version and an older version that's harder to experience. And it's just I hate this about remakes, and I think the Ocarina of Time remake is heading in that direction. It'll be a little bit better because Nintendo has that Nintendo Switch Online where you can play like the different ROMs, and Ocarina of Time is on there even in a degraded way, shape, or form, and it's kind of hard to outrun or outdo the reputation of Ocarina of Time. But it's just, remakes are starting to, like, I hate being that guy that says all remakes are bad, because it's, the bar is high, but it doesn't mean you shouldn't try. It's just nobody's fucking trying. You know?
You say that about almost every remake, and we can go on and on for hours about how, I mean, you view things versus I view things. I mean, obviously you're way more critical and analytical than I am, but you're also looking for things that I'm just not looking for, and I think that's a really, really big difference.
I think, and
for better and for worse, honestly.
Yeah, and it's not like you don't have taste or anything. It's just your will. You know, not everything. You're not going to notice everything, and I respect that. I'm just saying, like, a remake should be made with the intention of getting everything right, because, like, you're looking at games that are anywhere between 5, 10, 15, 20, 30 years old. You've had time to ruminate on it. It's obviously popular enough, because we don't make remakes of bad games that need remakes. We make remakes of popular games that don't need remakes. You know, you've had time to ruminate on them. They have these amazing reputations. There's no reason you can't make a remake that's just good and new and refines the original experience. Well, you know, because... And there's no reason you can't make that, because at the end of the day, you'll just net everybody. You'll net people that love the experiences, you know, with a scrutinizing eye, and you'll net people that just eat up whatever, because the people that eat up whatever are just there for the reputation that already exists and is the only reason you're remaking these games in the first place. You know? So that's what frustrates me the most. It's not just the fact that these games get disrespected or messed with in some way, shape, or form. It's the fact that you do it to your own detriment. Just do it right. You're already spending the money. Just do it right.
Yeah. I mean, I don't know. I'm gonna abstain from this for right now, because, I mean, like I said, like 2 seconds ago, we could just go on and on about this for a while, and I just don't have that kind of time at the moment. So, anywho,
Yeah.
I mean, because, like, I don't entirely disagree with you. I don't want you to think that, like, I just think you're being an asshole for no reason, because I think you absolutely have points that are valid and that are worth noting. I just don't. Like I said, I'm not looking for the same things that you are, and the things that you're looking for are, while they may be small, like relatively speaking, you add all of them up over the course of like an entire runtime of a game, and they could be way bigger than just like the individual tiny thing that you're spotting here and there. So yeah. I don't think that you're like off base or anything. I just think that at times you could be a little bit too harsh, but that's a conversation for a different day.
Yes, I get you.
So that being said, I'm going to move us along to the Slice of Life segment right now, because I am very pressed for time at the moment. I'm going to go first, since you just, went
ranted.
on. Yeah, we went on an Anthony rant.
Yes, we did.
Okay, so my little slice of life today, it has to do with Destiny because that's what gets fed to me on my phone. Um, it's really two things, like, but one is a lot smaller than the other. The first one is that the developer for Warframe Digital Extremes, they commented on the whole Destiny ceasing development thing, and they basically said that like they couldn't imagine doing this to their brand, like it was unthinkable, quote unquote.
Yeah.
Which I mean, the sentiment is great, but like the game itself wasn't in the greatest of health for a little
Mhm.
while, and like I respect and I appreciate the sentiment that they're giving here, but I just think it's not the same. It's not the same thing.
Yeah.
The other thing that I thought was way more noteworthy, in my opinion, was that the fucking BBC did a whole segment on Bungie ending development on Destiny 2 that had probably
Really?
yeah, two of the biggest content creators in the Destiny community, two out of the three, I would say, biggest content creators in the Destiny community featured in the segment. And it was like a solid 15-minute long segment. I was kind of shocked that they did this in the first place because, to my knowledge, the BBC doesn't necessarily have a what you would describe as like a gaming division of that network. And then just for this to make any kind of a headline in the mainstream media at all is kind of crazy to me. And not
Yeah.
to mention in a different country, and not that Destiny isn't playable in a different country, it absolutely is, but you know, it's just it's an American game. It was made in the US. The majority of players, I don't have any hard stats to back this up, but I'm pretty sure the vast majority of players are in the US. But I don't know. It was just kind of crazy to me that the BBC, of all people, of all companies, or of all outlets, I should say, they had a whole
Huh.
segment on the death of Destiny 2, or the death of Destiny like overall, and they had two out of the three biggest content creators on the network. So I you know, it was like 15 minutes of basically everything that we spoke about over and over again, but a lot more emotional,
Yeah.
and a lot more glazing. But I just find it fascinating that it actually happened. So that is my little slice of life for this episode.
All right. Neat.
What about you, friendo?
The only small thing I have really is you ever hear of Vanillaware?
No, actually, I have not.
Okay, I'll keep it short. They're a small Japanese developer, about 25-ish years old now.
Okay.
They're known for hand-drawn 2D art, really high production values, unique stories, anime-inspired kind of stuff. They've made a ton of cool games that are memorable in their niches, respectively. They've done Odin Spear, Dragon's Crown, 13 Sentinels. Most recently, they did Unicorn Overlord, which is that strategy game. And one of their most famous titles was Muramasa, the Demon Blade. That's like a nearly 20-year-old game.
Okay.
For their entire lifespan, they said that they wouldn't do PC ports. You know, the custom engine, we can't do it. Oh, you know, we don't want people to rip the assets from the games. Oh, you know,
It was a
we
technical issue for them. It was like a
They've
technical
cited-
drawback.
I think they just didn't want to do it. They cited technical issues because of their custom engines, but they also said like, oh, well, we don't want people modding the game, right? And then they also said the founder was always just like, I don't like PC. We don't want to use that as a platform. Recently, and through all the announcements, one of their renowned games, Muramasa, was announced to be coming to the PC, and the founder, the same guy who was Resistant, came out and said that you know, we're gonna change things up, you know, but you got to go to the publishers. We want to bring them to the PC now, but you got to go to the publishers. And I said, wow, that's really neat. Those games are going to be way more accessible. I'm fucking out, though. Because their localization has notoriously been dog shit. Like, from a technical standpoint, all the way up to, you know, localizer shenanigans. So, I guess this is great for me, because I'll finally get a chance to fully play through Unicorn Overlord after I get it for free, because I will be pirating these games. I don't support that localization nonsense. If it ever comes to the PC, that is. There's no guarantee, obviously. And I will be playing with fan translation. So it's very neat that I get to play these games in a non-emulated way, in a way I don't have to support the companies and everything like that. And it's very great because these games are really good. I just don't support the localization in the slightest. It's a pretty crazy turnaround for a company that's been pretty adamantly against the PC as a platform. I don't know what changed specifically. They just all of a sudden it's like, yeah, we want to bring it to the PC now. Just bother the publishers, I guess. So hopefully, you know, all those idiots that want to spite you for like saying localization bad, they buy like 30 copies each so that I can play the game for free at a certain point. So power to you guys. I'm looking forward to playing the fan translation whenever that happens.
There you go. Cool. All right.
Yeah.
Well, that about does it for this episode then.
Yeah.
If you've made it this far, thank you very much for listening. This was episode 110 of the Pregame Network podcast, and Anthony and I will be back next week to talk about whatever happens in this coming week. So once again, thank you, and we will talk to everybody next week. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.